The Season 3 patch notes just dropped, and if you've been running our top 10 loadouts, 3 of those guns just got hit. The SO14 got nerfed, the PKM got nerfed, the Tundra got nerfed so hard it might be dead. But it's not all bad news. 2 forgotten SMGs just got buffed into the conversation, and one of them might have just killed the PDW. Let's break down what actually matters in Season 3 and what you can safely ignore. Let's start with the SO14. This gun's base stats are so good that attachments barely matter, which is exactly why the devs went after the 2 attachments that show up in almost every single build. The FTAC RTP40 stock just got a massive 20% hit flinch penalty, and the Polar Fire S suppressor picked up a 10% sprint to fire delay penalty. Neither of these will make the gun disappear, but you're gonna feel it. Your flinch is worse, your reaction time out of sprint is slower. The gun just got a little less forgiving. But here's the real hit. Bullet impact dropped from 1.5 to 1.3. Now, unlike the PKM, the SO14 has a much longer fire interval, which means this bullet impact reduction is actually going to show up in gunfights. When you're shooting someone with the SO14, they're going to flinch less. That means they can fight back easier, and that's a real nerf. The gun is still good, but the margin just got thinner. The PKM is the strongest LMG in the game right now. The devs know it, we know it, and their solution was gentle. Bullet impact dropped from 1.5 to 1.4. Sounds significant until you realize that anything above 1, when you multiply flinch times bullet impact, is just too much. All this means is that a gun with 0.71 flinch is now acceptable against the PKM instead of needing 0.66. That's barely a difference. The only time you'll actually notice this is on guns that already have super high flinch, above 1. Where the kick won't be quite as brutal. But for everything else, the PKM is still going to make your screen shake like an earthquake. This is a nerf on paper. In your lobbies, it's the same gun. Now, this one hurts. The LWC Tundra got its ADS time increased from 500 to 525 milliseconds. Doesn't sound like much, right? But with a typical build, that puts you at 393 milliseconds ADS time. And that is now slower than the DLQ, the Locust Stopping Power, the Koshka, the Arctic 50, the 3-line rifle, the ZRG, and even an Odin with a typical build. Let that sit for a second. The Tundra is now the slowest scoping option out of basically every sniper and even a semi-auto marksman rifle. The Tundra's whole identity was being a decent sniper with good flinch resistance. That was the trade-off. You scope in a little slower, but you don't get knocked off target as easily. Now you scope in a lot slower, and that flinch resistance isn't enough to justify it. If you're still running the Tundra after this patch, you're honestly missing out. That thing is just too slow now. And yeah, we literally just built a sniper loadout around it in our top 10 loadouts video. Lightweight, amped, agile, the whole speed package. That loadout was built to make the Tundra feel fast. And now even with all of that, it's still the slowest option in the category. The DLQ is looking real good right about now. Alright, enough pain. Let's talk about the guns that just got a lot more interesting. This one is massive. The Cordite got its leg multiplier buffed from 0.9 to 1, and its stomach multiplier from 1 to 1.06. Those numbers sound small, but the impact is huge. In the first damage range, the 4-shot kill is now consistent as long as you hit the upper body. There are a ton of combinations that work. Basically 2 hits above the stomach, or just avoid the legs entirely and you get the 4-shot kill. In the second range up to 26 meters, the 4-shot kill is way more consistent, and out to 36 meters, the 5-shot kill tatted up significantly too. So what does all that actually mean? The Cordite is now officially better than the PDW, and not by a little. Faster time to kill? Yes, with a slightly less consistency, but consistent enough that it matters. Similar mobility, and an 80-round mag that lets you hold the trigger for days without stopping. The PDW has been the default I just want something that works SMG for as long as anyone can remember. And now, a gun that nobody was talking about 2 weeks ago just took its spot. If you're still running the PDW out of habit, it might be time to break that habit. The other fake PDW also got buffed, and this one is honestly surreal. Range went from 13 meters and 26 meters to 18 meters and 35 meters. We're talking about a 38% increase on the first range, and a 35% increase on the second. With attachments, that pushes the second range all the way to 49 meters. For context, that's AR territory on a gun with SMG mobility. You can't call that a small adjustment because that makes it a completely different weapon. The 16.7-inch barrel got a stomach multiplier buff from 1 to 1.06, which gives more consistent 4-shot kills in the second range. But we're not using it. It destroys your mobility. Instead, stick with a 16.2-inch barrel, which now gives you 45 meters of potential 4-shot kill range with PDW-like movement stats. The bad news? The cordite buffs are so good that the cordite still sits above the Groza, but this is a solid adjustment that makes the Groza a legitimate option again. The Lachman has always been a potentially good flex AR that suffers from two problems. ADS time is too slow at 293 milliseconds on the optimal build, and the BSA is mediocre. This patch fixes one of those. With the most optimal build, ADS BSA now sits around 17, which is as good as the XM4 and the Peacekeeper, and better than the Type 19. That's a real improvement. It also got a reload time buff, though we don't have exact numbers yet, but considering it was sitting around 1.9 seconds for half a reload, and 2 seconds for an empty reload, any improvement is welcome. The ADS speed is still the bottleneck. But if you can live with 293 milliseconds, the Lachman just became a lot more accurate at range. Those are the changes that will actually shift your gameplay. Now, let's rapid fire through the smaller stuff, things worth knowing but not worth rebuilding your loadouts over. DLQ, another fire interval reduction from 1107 milliseconds to 1120 milliseconds. The devs have been slowly buffing this gun step by step, and it now matches the Koshka's fire interval while closing the gap on the Locust at 1050 milliseconds. It's our benchmark sniper, and the benchmark just got better. ISO, the most disappointing SMG in the game, got buffs to the monolithic suppressor, the 225mm barrel, and the Revolution barrel. The Revolution barrel buff is so good that we're now using it instead of the 225mm. The gun is slowly becoming usable. Slowly. SPR, small fire rate increased from 1200 milliseconds to 1100 milliseconds, and the movement penalty on the .300 mag got removed. Nice, but it's not going to change anything. UL736, new initial damage phase up to 16 meters with 30 base damage, making the 3-tap easier if you land 2 shots to the chest. Still hard to pull off consistently, but a nice addition. Misdirection device, energy cost increase. Good, that thing is annoying. We don't have much detail beyond that. And finally, 2 changes that nobody asked for and everyone is going to suffer from. The Wilson, a 750-point score streak that's already a remotely controlled high health, high damage ground drone, just got its fire interval buffed from 400 milliseconds to 300 milliseconds. It already shot fast enough. It already dealt enough damage. The only thing this score streak deserved was a nerf, and instead the devs said, what if it killed people even faster? We ain't happy. Hives, those semi-invisible trip mines that were already the most annoying piece of equipment in the game, when they lasted 20 seconds, they now last 25 seconds. That's a 25% lifespan increase. 25% more time to walk around a corner and instantly regret every decision you've ever made. We ain't happy either. That's everything that matters in the Season 3 patch notes. New guns to try, old guns to rethink, and a couple of score streak buffs that nobody wanted. But knowing the meta only gets you halfway. If your aim can't keep up, none of this matters. We just dropped a full aiming masterclass covering 15 fundamentals that separate the top 1% from everyone else. From how your breathing affects your reaction time, to the single most important habit most players will never build. That video is on your screen right now.